Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma. My name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators in this amazing community, and I'd like to share with you a sentiment of metta, loving kindness, as a way of setting the intention for our practice today. This one reads, May my meditations of being become a lifeline. May my meditations of being become a lifeline. Sometimes I read these sentiments and I think, what do I mean by that? So if you're wondering, you're in good company since I wrote it and I don't even know what I mean. So I'm just going to let that be there. Let that touch into your imagination. What does a meditation of being mean to you? Friends, on Wednesdays, we have been exploring for years now the teachings of Zen masters. We read their books very, very slowly. We read a book by Roshi Joan Halifax called Standing at the Edge. I highly recommend it. It took us probably 3 years to read that whole book. For many months now, we've been reading a book called The Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. And this is the work of Shantideva, an 8th century monk. So I just want to invite you to think about that for just a second. 8th century. This was a long time ago. The perspectives are different. The culture is different. The attitude different. This is a monk. And so he was living in an environment. There were thousands of monks at this time in this university where he was studying, where this guide was shared and spoken. This lived in the oral tradition for a long time before it was ever written down and translated. So these are monks, these are all men, these are all celibate men, and these are all men who are renouncing what was called at that time the householder's life. Now, a householder is anybody who isn't a monastic. It's just a regular, everyday person. And I'm sharing this because the section I'm going to read today is all about attachment. And one of the things that I notice in myself is my propensity to put things in black and white terms. So when I read about monks and I think about their way of life, I sort of elevate that way of being as, well, that's the way I need to be. That's the good way to be. And then I treat myself as a householder with a family and all kinds of worldly demands as kind of the bad way to be. It's very black and white thinking, good and bad thinking. And what it does for me is it sets up a spectrum that while a monk's life is an elevated life, these are people that dedicate their lives to the practices, to the Dharma. They simplify their worldly connections so that their minds and their bodies and their hearts can be as devoted as possible to the practices and principles of the Dharma. That's great. That's amazing. We look to them as examples. And if we're being real, we have to remember they're human beings just like me. So on the other end is this householder, this person who is fully attached to the world. And we can even put that person in the extreme. Somebody who is really greedy, constantly going after material possessions, absolutely not practice at all, has no idea about the Dharma, has zero spiritual life, is just in it for acquisition, materialism, and so on. Me, I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm somewhere in between. I'm not a monastic and I'm not that level of householder. And so, what I can do for my own practice is look at the example of someone who's dedicated their lives to exploring attachment and then apply that in my own life, in the conditions of my own life. We're going to hear today Shantideva sort of encouraging the monastic way of living in a cave, being completely isolated, completely removed from society. And again, that is one way to live one's life. And it comes with a set of conditions that enables that individual to really explore themselves. Well, I'm not going to go live in a cave. I'm just telling you straight up right now. That A, that ship has sailed, and B, no, zero interest in exploring that level of discomfort and depravity in order for me to explore the conditions of attachments. I have other conditions in my life. I have a family, I have pets, I have land that I take care of. I'm about to get bees. In a month, I'm going to be a caretaker for 2 hives of bees. I don't know anything about that. I'm on a very steep learning curve, right? So I have my conditions in my life that help me explore concepts of attachment. So this is an invitation to look at a monk's life and then to glean that wisdom and apply it to the conditions of your life and my life. And notice what you notice. So to receive this wisdom, let's get the body ready. Let's get the mind ready and let's open the heart. To do this is really, really easy. Turn your attention in a friendly way to the body temple. Notice your body. How do you feel in your body? And if you feel tight or uncomfortable, if you had too much luncheon, or if you haven't had enough luncheon and your belly is grumbling, notice. If your body feels at ease and really relaxed, that's beautiful. Turn your gaze to your heart, that heart chakra. The heart in the chakra system is the place where the 3 physical chakras and the 3 spiritual chakras come together and rest. This is the place of wholeness. Take a deep breath. And to celebrate wholeness, the wholeness of you, see if you can notice the back body. Oftentimes, when I breathe, my focus is on my belly, the front of my body, as I breathe in and I notice my belly expanding. But I'm going to turn my attention to the back of my body, which doesn't often get attention, but it does make the whole of me, the front and my back makes a whole Julia. So breathe in and feel your back body expand if you can. And when you breathe out and you feel any contraction, notice where the contraction in your belly is connected to the contraction in your lower back. Lift your eyebrows if you want to. When we lift our eyebrows, we bring to the face an energy of levity, some friendly curiosity, maybe even a smile. And these are the conditions to be open. These are the words of Shantideva. Living beings have so many different inclinations that even Buddha is unable to satisfy them all. So, what chance do I, an ordinary confused being, have? Therefore, I should give up the wish to associate with worldly beings. Again, friends, 8th century monk. They look down on those who do not have wealth and despise those who do. How can people who are so hard to get along with ever see anything but faults in me? Whenever their wishes are not fulfilled, the childish become unhappy. This is why the Tathagatas have advised us not to associate with them. When shall I withdraw into the forest and live among the trees with birds and deer who say nothing unpleasant, but are a joy to live with, or dwell in a cave or an empty shrine, or abide beneath the trees with a mind unfettered by attachment, which never turns to look back? Then I shall live in a place that no one calls mine, a place that is naturally open and spacious, where I can act freely and do as I wish without any attachment to body or possessions. With just a few possessions, such as a begging bowl and clothes that no one else wants, I shall be free from any danger of thieves and robbers. In this way, I should live without grasping onto I or mine. Friends, the first thing that arises for me when I listen to that or read that is a single word: yikes. Yikes. Wow. Yo, yeesh. Like, not in a million years is that going to be me. Maybe that's going to be you. So it's just extreme for me. Not going to associate with worldly beings, going to reject all of that just seems a little harsh for me. But again, 8th century monk. He does speak something curious about those who are unpracticed, who become childish and insolent when they don't get what they want. That's me. I have those moments. I pout. I'm an excellent pouter. So there's an attachment that I can explore. When I don't get what I want when I want it, I can pout. He mentions a begging bowl. So, in the traditional Theravedic practices and lineages, that is still a thing where monastics will go on alms, um, spend time in alms and receiving alms, and they basically just live on whatever others give them. And they have these beautiful bowls in which they carry food. They accept no money. They physically, they don't touch money. Imagine wearing clothes that no one else wants. What would that be like? Attachment to clothes, attachment to appearance. So for me, friends, I don't have to leave the conditions of my life to explore the concept of attachment and the way the conditions of my life churn and stir up things for me. My relationships to people. Shantideva was talking about being among unpracticed people who are only going to find fault in him. The other side of that, if we're going to talk about dualism, the other side is praise. What about all the people in the world that are going to do nothing but praise him and sing his song? That is every bit as dangerous as criticism, blame. So in my own life, where do I where do I hold my own? Where do I stay centered when I'm balancing praise and blame? He doesn't mention it in these verses, but I'll bring it forward. Temptation, craving. When cravings arise in the conditions of my life, how do I react to them? How do I respond to them? I have a habit energy of being pretty harsh toward myself. And so, what I'm learning is to bring some harmony to that, to bring some balance to that so I can be gentle. Huh, would you look at that? This craving. I wonder what that's all about. Am I bored? Are my feelings hurt? Is my attention in a deficit? When was the last time I was out in nature and had some fresh air? What have I been listening to or watching? There's a lot of noise, both visual and auditory, in our contemporary world. It's really important to monitor noise pollution in one's life. That's an attachment, noise pollution. So, friends, the inquiry is, how does attachment live in the conditions of my life? How do I work those conditions? How can I shift those conditions? And I'll tell you, it is my belief that shifting conditions in one's life, shifting habit energy in one's life is incredibly personal. I'll also share with you, it is my observation that there is a sort of universal propensity that I've witnessed over and over and over again to try to shift the conditions in one's life and the habit energy in one's life with aggression, hostility, violence. And this is where I'd like to call forward the sacred feminine and what we're celebrating in the coming spring equinox, the possibility of something new. And the sacred feminine within each and every one of us is about nurturance. The sacred feminine is about connection and community, creativity, care, gentleness. The sacred feminine is about slowing down, looking deeply, being curious. As we take a step toward the conclusion of this meditation today, For the month of March, we've been talking about harmony, and Shantideva is all about concentration. This particular section is about concentration. So, what I would like to encourage all of us to imagine as we go into the day, that we're holding in our cupped hands an injured creature, like a puppy or a kitten or a bird. And if you notice that, notice in your own mind and body how concentrated your effort is in paying attention to that being and bringing it to safety, bringing it to care, nurturing its harmed, injured presence. That's the concentration that Shantideva in this chapter is inviting us to exercise. Even in our attachments, we can look at it with gentle, concentrated care. And when we do, we shift not only the relationship we have to our habit energy and our habitual patterns of being, but we shift the conditions of our whole life. This is a practice, friends. And so, a way to begin is to simply enjoy the practice. So let's end it on a joyful breath, breathing in with concentration, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Today, um, in our last community sharing, we heard this wonderful question, just this desire of like, what is the meaning of it all? Like, I'd really like to know. And it made me think of a teaching by Joseph Campbell, the great mythologist, teacher and professor of world mythology. And when asked that question, he shrugged his shoulders and was so ambivalent about it. He's like, "Nah, you know, who cares? Like, what's the meaning of a flea? What's the meaning of this? What's the meaning of that? It just is what he said." And I love that. So, what if the meaning is simply what is happening in this moment? That's it. That's the meaning. And what if we could apply that meaning, that this moment is a moment of being? We're alive, life is precious. And what if we could take this moment of being into a meditation, which is nothing more than cultivating more present time awareness? And what if we took that present time awareness of being, that meditation, and just remembered that in fact it is a lifeline? It's a lifeline to my heart, and it is a lifeline to all hearts, to the heart of life itself. May we take refuge in that. May we find shelter in that. And may we bring forward the brightness of our being, shine it far and wide for just this moment, and see what we see. Thank you for being here, friends. We'll see you next time. Namaste.